There it is. Great evening, great evening. I am the dynamic, daring, one-of-a-kind diva, Denise Silence, and welcome to another Let's Talk About It Tuesday. Excited to have you guys here on tonight as we had to make some shifts, but God is good. I always believe whoever is there is supposed to be there. So this was my back in the doorway of getting to Kelly, I believe. So thank you, Kelly, first of all. We were supposed to have another speaker, and she wasn't able to do it. Asked Kelly at the last minute. I actually had forgotten that she was also a mom that has children with special needs. So I'm so glad that you said yes and you were willing to maneuver whatever you had to, because it's been less than 24 hours ago that I asked for you to join me. So I appreciate you. So before we get started, we're going to jump in first and just do some, I call it housekeeping, but sometimes there's people that are on Let's Talk About It Tuesday, and this is their first experience. And this also gives us the opportunity to let people know what's happening with us currently. So I am pulling up my screen here. Show me if I'm beginning. There we go. So let's talk about it Tuesdays is one of the many things that we as Empowered by DS do. DS is for Denise Silas. Excited to be able to run this business with my two daughters. As they're getting older, you guys, it's exciting just how things are transitioning. You guys know my oldest daughter just had a baby. My youngest daughter is finishing up her master's and is going to start her big girl job. So we're having to do some changes, but things is good because the mission doesn't change. The people may shift around, but the mission doesn't change. We are focused on empowering women to be the best version of themselves. We do that through these variety of experiences. So I am excited to be in a season where I can just get to plan stuff to help people be better version of themselves. So this, of course, we're here every Tuesday, maybe 2 or 3 times a year that we're not here on a Tuesday. You should get a text from me that says, hey, this is what's happening. Whether it comes in the morning, in the afternoon, or 5 minutes before showtime, you're usually going to get something from me. So we have that. Our next Diva Dinner and Dialogue is coming up in June. I'll talk about that a little bit more. We also do empowerment workshops, and those workshops are to help women to build their professional and their personal skills, just to help them to develop in that area. We just launched our next subscription box. So those who are part of our tribe, we were able to have some additional ladies that got to experience this time. And our theme is obedience over outcome. So I'm excited about that. We do that every quarter. That's for the whole purpose of giving ladies are happy for themselves, but helps them to focus on their own desires and their dreams. Yearly, we host a variety of events as well. And with those events, it's all around everything we do. So we always about building family relationships, building our faith, our fitness and our wellness, our finances and our career and fun. In October, we do our Give Back campaign. It's around adopted grandparents. So we adopt seniors through Sacred Heart Southern Missions, low-income seniors in the northern Mississippi area. So we do a variety of things to help women give for themselves and to able to give back as well. So our tribe, our official community started in February, and excited. If you're interested in just learning more about it, it's we have a paid-based community as well as we offer other things, but being in the community gives you the opportunity to connect with other individuals. So if you are a part of our community, put in the chat what you enjoy the most about being in the community. What is it experience that you have received thus far? But whether you are part of our collective and just experience our book club, our virtual events, all the way to getting coaching and training from me as well. So it's a variety of ways that you can participate. And I congratulate those ladies who chose themselves. Because I believe when you start to invest in things that matter for you, you're choosing you. So thanks for these ladies. I will continue to honor them because they're the first that said yes, and our charter members and came along for the ride with me. So I'm excited to have them, but we are constantly adding individuals. Our book, The Mountain Is You. Oh my gosh, this next chapter is a good one. It's a good one, but we're doing our book. Even if you have not, if you're part of our tribe, even if you have not did the first 3 chapters, I promise you, you can jump in with us. Our next meeting is this coming Thursday. It's hosted by Aisha Hall. She's been doing a great job giving us journal prompts. She's been doing a great job of giving us affirmation and tying it all with the book. But this book is really about how are you dealing with self-sabotage? How are you dealing with your emotions? So even if you don't join our book club, I encourage you to get that book because it is very, very good. Our next Diva Dinner and Dialogue is June 13th. June 13th, we encourage you to join us if you're part of our experience level, our elevate level, or our elite level. Of course, all of the experiences come with it. So just let me know if you're not attending, so I know not to have to count for you for your food and stuff like that. But we're excited about having it, and that will be our next. We haven't had one since March, but the reason why is because next week we are headed to Birmingham. I'm excited about that. So if you are going to Birmingham with me, put it in the chat. If you are going to be on a bus, just put the word bus. If you're going to be on a bus headed to Birmingham with us, go ahead and put it in the chat. So I'm excited about taking 51 women, and we're going to have a phenomenal time as we explore Birmingham. And then coming up, remember I told you we do all areas. So coming up, the first Sunday in May will be our next Sacred Start prayer call. So it was such a blessing last month, at the beginning of this month. I'm sorry. So I'm looking forward to it for the month of May as well. So it's the first Sunday of the month at 6 p.m. via Zoom. So I hope you, for our Decide Tribe members, put that on your calendar and plan to be there with us. So we have been doing a series called Women of Strength, honoring women who have to navigate their journey of having children with special needs. And it has been very enlightening for us, just understanding how we can support. And I'm sure it's going to be a continued adventure. So we were supposed to have someone else. Kelly said yes. So we're excited to hear from her tonight. And then if you missed the first 2, I encourage you to go back. I think I forgot to upload Rebecca's from last week, but I will upload it to our YouTube channel, and all of our previous recordings, you guys, are on the YouTube channel. So whether you missed it or you know of a person who could have benefited from the conversation, I would encourage you to have them just share the link with them and have them take a listen to it as well. So if you are looking to know what we're doing, what's going on with us, you can always check us out at Empowered by DS. In addition to our community and doing these individual things, I also, of anybody who needs any group training. One of my favorite training that I love to do right now is about values and being able to have teams work together. So if you know of anybody who's looking to create camaraderie and build strength in their team, please refer them to me as well. We're continuing Align, Become, Conquer. So I'm excited to really dive into that with our individuals that's going on the retreat. So you guys, the retreat is, you're like, well, how are you doing the retreat? We actually are retreating on the bus. So we start off, we leave at 6:30 a.m. I give them a little time to get themselves together. And by 8 o'clock, 8:30, we are in retreat mode, doing activities and stuff on the bus. So by the time we get to Birmingham, then we're doing more social self-care, engaging with each other, having lunch, doing those things that are all necessary for us to reset ourselves, to come back and be the best version of ourselves. So we're going to really talk about Align, Become, and Conquer with it. So with that, we have Miss Kelly, who is going to be, and Kelly, I have no information. So you see, it's just your name. So I didn't have any information. So I just know that you work with my girlfriend, Angela, and we'll have you share a little bit about yourself as well. But these are the pictures I was able to pull up. were these. So I know he is not this young anymore, but
No, he's not that cute anymore.
so if you could tell us, I always ask people, tell us why you chose to share these pictures. And we did have a couple more, but I'm sorry, I just could not get them loaded up. But what made you share these particular pictures with us?
Well, I kind of picked the ones where I see the happiness, and actually the bottom there on the left, that's actually Christopher. That's my younger son.
Okay.
So the others are, of course, Christopher as a or Nate as a baby. In the middle, you've got Nate again as a baby when he started giving that, I call it the autism look. It's usually a blank stare, doesn't look like anybody's home. But that was the stare that should have clued me into what was going on. And of
Okay.
course, our little tiny happy family when he was about a year and a half old, not quite two yet. Couldn't
Okay.
find a pair of pants that fit him. He had little short, stubby legs, um, and a really long torso. And
So
then, of
he's
course, we
the oldest. He's the oldest or the youngest?
yes, I just have two, and that
Okay.
is my older son, Nate.
Okay.
He is the one who decided that I needed to experience autism.
Okay.
The
So
bottom left, that is my younger son, Christopher.
okay.
And we actually have Nate and Christopher have identical pictures that face each other in our entryway. So these are massive 20, was it 20, 12 by 24, what, 24 by 24, whatever.
Okay.
Massive portraits of them. Why we chose that, I do not know. But when Christopher came along 12 years later, or not 12, 8 years later, we had to do the exact same pose with the same stuffed reindeer that we still have. Those were actually taken at Sears, of all places, and they still had the same setup from 8 years prior. So it ended up turning out, of course, that's our Santa suit.
Gotcha.
We had Santa suits that fit from 6 months all the way up to, I think the last one we bought was at 4. It wasn't as cute after that point. It was adorable when he was really little to have him dressed as Santa Claus.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, so let me bring you on stage, and we're going to get this conversation spotlight for everyone, and then let me spotlight myself as well. Add spotlight. Okay, here we go. So I have a series as you guys. So if this is your first time tuning in, we have a series of questions that we've been asking all the moms, and then just depending on some of the information, I may ask you some other questions that kind of came from the originals, but
Okay.
this is really just kind of help us to understand what your journey is, and then how we as individuals who don't have to, that's not part of our story, can still support and encourage and be sensitive to someone that's in that season. So let's get started. Can you share a little about your child and when you first learned about their diagnosis? I know you said about the stare in the picture, so tell us a little bit more about the
Yeah.
experience.
So with Nate, now both of my boys do have autism. They had different journeys. With Nate, he was probably 4. It was right before his 4th birthday. He had gone in for just a regular checkup, just a regular 4-year-old wellness check. And one of the questions they asked back then was, how many words does he have? I can't remember the number I gave. But the doctor kind of thought that it wasn't quite enough. And from there, he sent us for a speech evaluation. That speech evaluation, he did not do well at all. That ended up with us in front of a clinical social worker, who then put us in front of a psychologist who did his IQ testing, which came out, they tested him in about the 40 range of his IQ. And for those that know IQs, that's not good. That's not good at all. The average IQ in the US is about, I think it's right around 95, between 90 and 95 and 100 or something like that, like 90 to 100 is average. And so when that came back, we started investigating, well, why? Number one, did we have a speech delay? What did that all involve? And one of the first things that the speech therapist said was, I think he has autism. And I kind of looked at her and I'm like, okay, whatever. I didn't know what
Mhm.
autism was.
Okay.
Back then, it wasn't as prominent. I didn't hear about people that had autism. I didn't know what it meant. Of course, the first thing a parent does is you start searching. What the heck is autism? What is it about? Why is he like this? How can I fix it?
Mhm.
Clue, can't be fixed.
Okay.
You have to get used to your child as they are. And so that's kind of where we started. He also had, they did a MRI. One of the things they think too, when they think speech delay, is they think that it's possible that your child has a tumor. Does he have a brain tumor? Does he have some difference within his brain that is causing him to do these things? Well, his, knock on wood, his MRI was normal, but we still were dealing with, we think his IQ's 40. Well, that puts you in a range of something a little different than what I ever pictured one of my children being.
Mhm.
Um, and with Nate, we thought it can't be. By the time he was 4, he may have only had a very small bucket of words he used, but the child could count to 100. He was adding numbers at 4, and numbers that typical people don't think their kid's going to be able to do. I
Mhm.
mean, I figured out at 6 that he had a much more amazing brain than I could have ever dreamed of.
Mhm.
He would add mailbox numbers together. He would memorize routes. So he knew where you were going before you tell him. He
Mhm.
would map it out in his brain. And he had some very interesting, how do I put it, peculiar interests.
Okay.
Um, of all things feet, he has a thing for feet. He still does, which can be very dicey sometimes. He
So
weighs.
how old is Nate now?
Nate is now 22. He'll be 23 this summer. Um, and a lot has changed, but a lot hasn't. He is very much like he was even at the age of 4. But that road kind of went to that point, and then of course you start thinking, well, what about school? How's school going to work? I started hunting down, at that time, the DeSoto County Director of Special Ed. Her name was Dr. Sheila Williamson. And Dr. Sheila, this amazing lady, took one look at my son, looked at that IQ test, laughed, and ripped it up.
Mhm.
She said, "This is trash. This is not your son."
Mhm.
His last IQ check was probably closer to 130, 135, somewhere in there, is what they think is his bottom level. But he also got bored and decided he didn't want to do it anymore.
Mhm.
We don't really know what his IQ is. We
Gotcha.
don't care. But it made a big difference when it came to getting him into school. And how was school going to be for him? What did that look like? And this is before the Arc of Northwest Mississippi started. This all happened before they had a foothold in
Yeah.
DeSoto County. I didn't even know what that was.
Because that was 18 years ago, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
18
was.
years ago.
And as soon as I found out it existed, I jumped in because I wanted to know what, how could I be helped with this? And they've had a lot of programs that have not only helped myself, they've helped Nate, and then eventually Christopher. Now, with my younger son, he's 15 now. He wasn't diagnosed till he was 9. That is an old man for autism.
Mm.
That is way late. He did not have the delays his brother had. And you would think, with all the experience I'd already had, I'd have been smart enough to pick up on it. But I wasn't.
Different.
Christopher actually, he does what's called masking. So he hides it. So unless you really pay attention, you'd probably never guess that he had any special needs. And it's amazing how I started looking at a bunch of other things from my past and started connecting a lot of things. that, oh my gosh, this now makes sense. He is definitely my child. He is all mom. He really is. But he understands the way that Nate doesn't.
Oh. So they're just
So
totally different. So you had totally different journeys with the two of them.
completely. And I am more than amazed at the differences that each individual with autism is. They're completely different people. You can't look at one autistic and say that's what autism is.
Yes, yeah.
It's not.
Different.
It's just as wide a variety as there are people or differences in autism. Um,
Kelly,
and so,
tell me what was your emotions in those stages? What type of emotions did you experience? And
at
how
the
did you have
beginning,
say it again?
denial. At the
Denial. Okay.
beginning, it was denial. My husband was definitely in denial because, we had the next star of the Dallas Cowboys in our house.
I was
My
born
husband
athletes, yeah.
Yeah, that's what he expected. He expected football players. Nate's first word was football. His second word was touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he had to be, right? With me, it was kind of sadness. I think I was in denial for a little bit. But when I got over okay, this is obvious, something's not right, I got to figure it out. I can't be in denial. I have to know what to do to help him because my goal was to make him as I thought at the time normal as possible.
Mm.
That doesn't exist. And then my shift became let's figure out a way that he can be as typical as possible. So I was thinking, how can he have a job? How can he live on his own? How can he do these other things? And I think he was on that trail. But then we had another lovely little gut punch, and he began having seizures.
Mm-hmm.
And that took my Nate and changed him completely.
So what age was he when he started having the seizures?
He was 16. Epilepsy generally doesn't start that late, but with him it did. And for those that know folks that have epilepsy, it changed the way his brain functions. Um, what he used to say he wanted to be a math teacher. He'd have been an awesome math teacher. 6th and 7th grade, the teacher would actually let him teach class.
Mm-hmm.
He is a numbers nut. Like I said, he would add mailboxes together. We realized that he could do pretty advanced math in his head. And while he couldn't have a conversation with you, he could do your math homework.
Interesting.
He's really good at the math. And he still is that way. He cannot really hold a conversation. But he can still do the math like nobody's business.
Wow. So you just have to find what he can do and let him excel in what he can do.
Exactly.
Awesome.
But when the seizures hit, we realized he would not be able to take care of himself.
Mm-hmm.
He has struggled even with simple things like making sure he takes his medication. Mm-hmm. And without the medication, we have seizures. So it's kind of a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
We've got to stop. Well, we've got to get him on track to be able to do, what we would consider typical things. But if he forgets, it can cause a problem. So I don't let him do a lot of those things. I'm always the one who hands him his medicine. I make sure that medicine gets in him because I can't handle the seizures. And I mean, we had a bad one. We had an experience that could have taken my son. Mm-hmm. He had a seizure just after taking a bath. And he went face first into the bathtub with the bathtub still full. That was a weird day. He never closes the bathroom door. That day he closed it. I heard a thump. And then he didn't answer me. Ran in to find him face down in the tub. Ooh. And that's probably the scariest thing I think I've ever seen. I can handle a lot. I can handle the seizures. I can handle the cut over his eye. He sliced his eye open. I mean, there was a good about 4 or 5 inch cut above his eye from where his head hit the tub. I can handle that. the seizure I can't handle.
Mm.
I can handle the blood. I can handle the cuts. I can handle those boo-boos. I can't handle seizure. I can't handle people face first in the tub. That I can't do.
So
So
what has this taught you about yourself that through the process, and I'm sure as it was changing and the different things, you're learning more about yourself. So what has it taught you about yourself?
that I'm stronger than I give myself credit for. I have learned to stand up for people that maybe even just 10, 15 years ago would have been harder for me to do.
Mm.
I don't let people take advantage of our people. When I see a person being taken advantage of, I'm going to step in. I can't let it happen. Because it scares me. Because I picture Nate. I don't want anybody taking advantage of him. I don't want any adult or child with autism having something bad happen to him because somebody refused to speak up.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. What are some of the biggest challenges you face that you've shared a little bit, and how have you found the strength to keep going?
Well, with Nate, he became very aggressive. So before the seizures started, he actually was aggressive enough where he was willing to hurt myself and his little brother. I actually caught him with his hands around his little brother's throat, trying to choke him. So he had Christopher up off the ground, and Chris was only 6, and he was a little tiny 6-year-old. He was a little bitty fella. I don't think he got over 79 pounds until he was 14. So he was little, and he had Chris just dangling in the air. And I happened to walk in right at the right moment. The next probably 30 minutes I spent wrestling Nate to get him to calm down. We used to carry sedatives everywhere we went. I now can leave them off on a shelf. I don't carry them like I used to, but we would have to pin him down and feed him sedatives in order to get him to stop. I got chased down the road one day because a lady thought my boyfriend or husband was beating me because he was beating me in the car. He had run through the middle of at that time I had an SUV with 3 rows, and he had run from the back up to the front and was hitting me over the head as I drove down Getwell. Had a lady chase me into a parking lot. And at that point, I was already getting the sedatives down his throat. But she literally thought I was being beat. That ended up in a hospital stay. That was hard. I had to send him to Atlanta. Nobody in this area would take an autistic that had aggression. He ended up going back again. And those were very hard times because I had to trust other people.
Right.
And that didn't go too well either. He was abused a little bit the second time he went. And I'm only saying abused because I think it was more neglect, not necessarily, they weren't purposely hurting him, but they weren't taking care of his needs.
Okay.
Something simple like fingernails being cut or toenails being cut. His toenails were so long that they were hitting the end of his shoe and rubbing and cutting the end of his shoe, which doesn't sound like a big deal. But when you have problems like he does, it can end up being a big deal. Then his brother ended up going through some things too that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Of course, I wouldn't wish it anyway, but I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But Christopher was assaulted in a way that nobody ever should be assaulted by another child. And it has messed with his brain. So what I thought was going to be an easier version of autism has actually in the last few years been very difficult because I've had to now deal with not only the autism, but an assault that has made it difficult not only for him, but for everybody in this house. My husband has had a hard time with it. He's had an extraordinarily hard time with it. Nate doesn't even know what happened. Nate still lives in Nate land, and he doesn't really understand anybody else. And there are days I wish I were in Nate land. Because Nate land looks a lot more easy and calm than it does in my world. But I've learned that, sometimes we just have to figure it out.
Where do you get your support from? I mean, you are sharing a lot. Like I could imagine somebody having to figure that out on their own. Where do you get your support from to keep you going?
Of course, my husband, but also the ARC has helped me in ways that I never even would have thought would be possible. When things have happened to both Nate and Chris, one of the first persons I've called was Rebecca, because both the times that they both went to hospitals, I didn't know who to call. How do you get that started? Where do you go? Who do you lean on? Who do you trust? Unfortunately, in our area, there's not a whole lot of places for our people to go. Somebody would probably look at you and go, Parkwood, of course. No, not necessarily. That is not exactly what I'd consider the safest place for a child on the spectrum. I would not recommend it to anybody. I mean, last ditch effort, if you had no other choice, maybe. Rebecca ended up giving me a good recommendation, and they ended up being very good for Christopher.
But Rebecca was our guest last week. She's referring to.
And I missed it. I'm mad.
Watch it. She gave good information, so you definitely have to rewatch it. So, but yeah, Rebecca was our guest last week. And have somebody that's knowledgeable, I'm sure.
Yeah, and with the ARC too, they have programs for us parents.
Right.
There is the parent support group meetings, and I have met so many people that way. Now it's more younger parents coming through, but I still have my little troop of families with older kids, and I depend on them. I've got a great Bible study group that I usually hang out with on Wednesday mornings. We've been a little too busy, so I hadn't had my chance. Hopefully I can get back to that soon, but it's a Bible study group with special needs moms.
Right.
I mean, there's 3 of us that have autistic children, and the rest of them have Down syndrome. And then we've got one lady who has a daughter who has a very rare syndrome, and there's only 3 living people in the U.S. that have this. I don't know what to call it. It's not a disease. It's more of a developmental issue, but it doesn't have a name.
Wow.
A few people.
That's crazy.
And we just love on each other. We make sure that if any of us need something, we're there for each other. And without that group and some of the other folks that I've met through the ARC, I don't know where I'd be. Probably curled up in a hole somewhere crying. And there are days that I want to crawl up in a hole and just cry. But I know I can't.
Right.
I got two kids, and even though Nate's 22, he will always be a child. His brain has not developed past, I'd say he's probably cognitively about 8. And that's where he'll be forever. Most likely he can't ever really expand from there. And I have to realize too that he'll be with me till I die. And I'm cool with that.
I would encourage you to follow Starfields. She was the first guest we had. And she describes her son Gabe as her forever baby. Yep. She just, when she came to realize that's her forever baby. But I would encourage you to follow her. She's just the joy in her now accepting, as she said, it, just her situation when she could finally accept it, like this is what it is, that she found joy in where she was. But she is amazing as well. So, and I'm glad that to hear that you have, I was having a conversation with a friend, I think she's on, and we were talking about your like-minded, having like-minded groups of people. And I'm glad you were able to find and you're okay with your like-minded, because sometimes I think I've heard people say that they don't want to be labeled. They don't want people to know. But I would think those would be the group of people who, if we have something in common, we know each other the best. I don't care what it is, like whatever the situation is, we know each other the best. Like boy moms know boy moms, girl mom, it's like specific. So I'm glad that one, that the art provides some of that support, but you also have found it for yourself and have built your own community that you can trust and can understand, your journey as well.
And I mean, it is difficult. I mean, my husband has had a harder time. And I think for men, sometimes it is harder.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he has had a hard time. He doesn't talk about it. He just keeps it bottled up.
Yeah.
And we see things differently, but our main goal is to make sure that our boys are okay.
Right.
And that's just part of it. I mean, I think I probably have a happier spirit about myself just because I'd probably have dealt with more than he does, because he works nights. He's not at the IUPs. He's not getting the phone calls in the middle of the day. It's usually me fielding phone calls or scheduling these IUPs and making sure that they have the resources they need.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish more men would open up about it.
Right. And have conversation.
Yep.
So what do you wish more people understood about parenting or supporting a child with special needs?
I wish more people would not judge.
Okay.
In the way that, I mean, is I could easily be out having dinner with my family. So the four of us out to dinner, and I will get looks. I will get comments, especially about Nate. I still hold Nate's hand in a parking lot. He has been known to dart in front of cars. I've been more than frustrated with people that just give that look of, why is she doing that? Why are you acting that way? And most of the time, I don't care. Look at me all day. Ask me a question. Don't make comments behind my back.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that to people. Just understand that not everybody is the same.
Right.
We're all different, whether we have a special need or not.
Exactly.
All of us are different.
Exactly.
We develop at different rates. And I'm going to hold his hand in a parking lot.
Your boss said you're managing your crazy office like a rock star.
Woohoo! Trying.
And my aunt said, I admire your strength and courage.
Well, thank you.
So what would you say to a mother who just received diagnosis and is feeling overwhelmed?
Talk about it. Talk about it. Find a tribe. Find a group. Plug into an ARC. And there are ARCs all over the country. It's not just here. Now, I admit we probably have the best one ever. Just saying. But they've got to find a place where they can meet other people on that same journey or a similar journey so that they have, someone to bounce things off of, whether it's a dietary issue. One of the things that a lot of folks that have kids on the spectrum, one of the things that they check is their dietary. Are they having reactions to certain foods? I even went down that road. That didn't help, but I tried. Right. I went down was it a vaccine route? Some situations, yes. But the more I looked at it, the more I realized I think Nate was just born this way. Mm-hmm. He used to look at me funny even when he was a tiny little baby. He'd look at me like I was an alien. But he was just different. He just looked at me weird. That should have been my first clue now that I look back at things. Of course, nobody would have listened to somebody saying, my 2-month-old, he's looking at me weird. A doctor's going to go, okay, whatever. Take a breath. Quit over dramatizing everything, because that's what my husband said to me. Stop making something out of nothing. Well, that nothing ended up being something. Nothing they could have done about it, but it would have given me more time to maybe research.
He was
They
being hopeful. He was being hopeful.
exactly.
Um, so have you ever ran into, because I was having a conversation, I'm always having these conversations, right? Having a conversation with someone and she was frustrated because when she was trying to get help from a particular organization, they weren't moving fast enough for her, or so she was getting discouraged. So I, the type of person I am, said, "Girl, you got to keep fighting for your son until um,
Mm-hmm.
what you need. If not, go to somebody else. Don't just say, well, I'm waiting on them to call me. Don't do that." So have you
Don't
ever run
wait.
into a situation where they weren't moving as fast, and what did you do? How did you continue to push forward? Because you were saying back when you started that, like it wasn't an arc. So how were
Nope.
you navigating that season when you don't have that type of support?
Um, I probably did something I probably shouldn't have done, and that's a lot of Googling. But sometimes doing that ends up sending you down the wrong road.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Finding people sometimes. And with the ARC, one of the things that they do provide is advocacy. And people don't even realize exactly how important that is. I ran into a lady, of all places, I know her from church, but I didn't really know her until one day I was picking up my younger son from school, and she starts telling me about her little girl who's in third grade. And she was wanting to have an evaluation done. The poor child had already failed twice, was in her third year of third grade, and nobody had bothered to evaluate her for anything. And so the first thing I did is said, I got you covered. Because you're going to call this lady and you're going to talk to her. Come to find out, she'd already met her, didn't realize she was an advocate, didn't realize that, and this is a friend of mine who that's what she does. She just does it to help people. She
Mm-hmm.
doesn't do it to get paid. She does it because she doesn't want people taking advantage of our kids.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, she can do it full time. That's what she does. She goes to IEPs. She stands up for people. She knows what services to demand
Mm-hmm.
because that's what it takes. But if the organization isn't moving as fast, you're going to have to find a different path. And sometimes that is finding an advocate. And even the ARC, they have a list of folks that you can call. So if they can't be at a meeting, they know somebody who could be there. So that's pretty much everything that I had to do is I had to figure it out. And I had no idea what an IEP was when I started all of this. I'd never heard of it, didn't know what it meant, didn't know why I had to do it. Um, but I had to learn. So I found a class, of all things, the ARC of the Mid South, which is in Memphis. They were having an advocacy class. And that advocacy class was starting about the time that the ARC decided to get started in our area. And I had joined that class, and that's what taught me how to handle an IEP. It was shortly after that that I realized the ARC was coming into existence down here, and they were providing so much more at the ARC of Northwest Mississippi than the Mid South ARC was offering. And then I took some more classes, and I learned how to do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to look at somebody and go, no, that's not right. You can't do that. For instance, one of the things that they like to do is they like to take our kids and they like to put them in a self-contained classroom where they don't have to worry about them.
Mm-hmm.
Put them in a classroom, leave them there. Well, that's okay in some situations. Maybe if Nate's IQ was 40, that would have been an appropriate placement. His IQ wasn't 40. That wasn't an appropriate placement. And had I not spoken up, that's where he would have been his entire time in education. And that's not where he belonged.
So is it the other, just for people who may not know?
Okay.
So it's self-contained and inclusion, right? That's it.
Correct.
So inclusion
Self-contained.
would be right in the classroom with the other students.
Exactly. A self-contained classroom is basically a classroom where the children do not leave, they do not go to other classes, they don't interact with each other. Inclusion, which is what I demanded Nate be in, that is a classroom like any other classroom. The child just gets accommodations. So it may be extra time on a test. It may be testing in another room. It may be having questions read to them. Some of our kids do well reading the test on their own. Others, they can't do that. They have to have it read to them. So it just depends on what that child needs. And those accommodations are what is decided within an IEP. Mm-hmm. So by not understanding how those things work, your child isn't going to necessarily get everything they need. Again, it depends on the school. It depends on the teachers. That makes a massive difference.
Right.
It really does. Because Nate's had some great teachers. Nate's had some rotten teachers.
Right.
But it's those good ones that help push the right narrative down the road versus giving him, an isolated experience where he doesn't know how to be with other people.
For those who may be watching this later and missed our conversation last week with Rebecca, the ARC is our local organization that supports individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities in every area. It may not be called the ARC, like she said. So there may be something in your specific area that specifically has funding to support, create opportunities that will help, as Kelly said earlier, a typical life. Like we're trying to get them as much as a typical life as well. So, and interacting. I love how Star said it a couple of weeks ago. She said, we take our children out to the community so they can get used to the community, but also so the community can get used to them. So being in an inclusion classroom gives them the opportunity, and even with the students being used to that as well. So as they, the normal students, I'm going to say it like that, as they get older, they're used to being able to work with versus being mistreating people when they get out, like you were saying, when you're out in public as well. So we definitely want to get involved. And one of the things, I don't know if you knew this, I don't even think it's been announced yet. So that class that you're talking about, teaching advocacy, I know the ARC of Northwest Mississippi will be having that soon as well with the to help people learn. I know we had a guest months ago, Allison, one of my sorors, and she was talking about how to advocate for yourself. And I think that's where people miss the ball. They get frustrated and stop versus constantly pushing and knowing how to push, right? To get that IEP and getting and understanding it. If you don't understand, take the time to learn for yourself, whether it's Google or not. I mean, at least you were trying to figure it out versus sitting around waiting for somebody to do something for yourself. I think that advocacy is definitely a big piece of providing. And I think for all of us, as I listen to you talk, Rebecca and Star talk, I'm like, it's no different. We all have to fight for our children to get them what they need to be the best version of themselves, right? That's what the goal is. Your journey is just a little bit different, probably a lot of bit different than mine, but
just a little.
Pushing that, but I don't want to take from your journey. Like, oh, Denise, you got like. That's why I said it that way. But I applaud you for pushing, and we don't know what's going on. Like, we do not know what's going on with what it means. So I appreciate you taking the time and sharing the details of your story, because you could have easily just kind of shared a little bit. That's why I always say I'm gonna ask the questions, and anything you're not comfortable with answering, I respect that as well. With it, but I do appreciate it. So my thing that blacked out, we were talking. How do you take care of yourself while caring for someone else who needs so much from you?
I haven't done as much as I need to. One of my go-tos was I would go swim. Time where I don't have someone hanging off of me asking me 3 million questions or begging for something that they know they can't have. That's my older son. He wants the phone. He wants iPad. He wants this. He can't have any of that. So being able to just get away from everybody for a little bit, including my husband. I got to be away from him too. But being able to do that right now, it's more just trying to unwind at the end of the day. Take a walk. Sometimes just a walk can make a big difference. It can reset your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Physical activity of any kind. I don't have a swimming pool at my disposal at the moment. If I did, I'd be in a swimming pool, taking some laps, just, letting the water take my stress away.
We're glad you're going Saturday.
Hey, I'm excited.
Swooping
It
you
was
up.
so much fun last year.
It's swooping you up. So for reasons like this, just kind of swoop you up. So I applaud you being willing, because sometimes we don't want to let go, or and sometimes we can't. I'm not. Sometimes we just can't. So I'm excited that you are allowing yourself and have figured it out so that you can go and have that time away, and then come on back and you can get back at it on Sunday. whatever that looks like, we get back at it on Sunday. What are some of the most beautiful or unexpected blessings that have come from this journey?
Oh, well, with Nate, I get lots of hugs and kisses. Most 22-year-old boys aren't going to want to hug and kiss on their mom.
Right.
If I let him, he'd probably still get in my lap and cuddle. But he's a little too big for that one. So just that simpleness that he has. Sometimes he'll say something and I just kind of look at him like, what are you talking about? And then whatever he says, don't laugh at me too loud, will happen. And I'm like, he connects in a way that I don't think anybody else knows how to do. I've watched his talents come through, and some of those talents just amaze me. He is what they call a calendar savant, which is a really cool party trick. He can tell you what day of the week your birthday will fall. We call it the birthday game, will fall in the future. So if you give him your day and your month, he'll tell you, he can go up to about 10 years in the future and tell you when your birthday is going to fall. And if you watched Rain Man was a calendar savant, but he went backwards. Nate will not go backwards. He does not like subtraction. He doesn't like taking away. He likes adding. So he always goes forward. When I found out I was pregnant with my second son, he told me I was going to have a boy and they were going to be born on February 1st. And I remember thinking, we didn't know at the time we were having another boy. And I meant he got 50-50 chance there. And that child decided to come on February 1st. He was exactly right. I was only about 4 months along. Had no earthly idea we were having a boy, and they show up on February 1st. Dadgummit, that kid showed up on February 1st. And he held out because I was induced. I was induced on the 31st. That kid waited. He waited. But there's just certain things about him that just make me smile. He'll say random weird things, but the way he says it and what he says, you can't help but smile. Even when he's waving at feet. I said he has a foot obsession. He really does. He will wave at toes. He thinks the toes talk back. He's named my feet. My feet have 2 different names. Dad's feet have 2 different names. I know where he got them from, but I'm not going to tell you that part. He doesn't watch television. Everything he does has to do with math. Right now, I can guarantee in his room, he's probably doing a Sudoku puzzle. I don't understand it. I will never figure it out. Doesn't make sense to me, but that child can whip through those. We buy him massive books of Sudoku puzzles. Makes him happy as a clam. He's easy. He's my cheap kid. It's the other one that costs me money.
My girlfriend's her grandson has a foot fetish as well, and he is she said he has the only one. So one of the questions, I'm sorry, not Amy, I'm looking at Kelly, is how do you prepare for his future without you?
That started when he was 14. This was the other thing one of the other things that the ARC helped me with. one of the things that he needed to be evaluated for was there is something called the Medicaid waiver in the state of Mississippi. And it is for children and adults that have cognitive and developmental disabilities. And it helps them have a place to live and people that will take care of him once Dad and I are gone. We finally got off the boat and got an appointment to get him evaluated. And the appointment, or the lady that set the appointment, had called me and said, I don't think he needs this appointment. Your son isn't going to qualify. And I remember saying, what do you mean he's not going to qualify? His IQ's too high. That's because they had gotten the report that they had done when he was 6 years old that had his IQ in at 132. But what they didn't take into account is that there are two different IQs that you get when you have an IQ test. There's your nonverbal IQ and there's your verbal IQ. And there's a massive difference between his nonverbal and his verbal. So his nonverbal is the 132. His verbal IQ is closer to about 80. That means he just can't communicate what he knows. He can write it down. He can fill out a questionnaire. He can answer questions on the computer, but he can't talk to you about it. And I had called Rebecca slightly fallen apart because I thought, well, this means that they won't help him. So what's going to happen when he becomes an adult and I'm gone? Rebecca made a phone call. And she must have gotten firm with them because when I got down there, they were not happy I was there. She had had a conversation with somebody, must have been over their head. And that conversation led to her having to schedule an appointment to evaluate Nate. And Nate did really good. He did miserable on that IQ test. I was so proud of him. Not what I should have been cheering, but by doing as poorly as he did, he was proving that he could not be on his own. There was no way that you're going to let this person out at 18 and say, he's good, he can take care of himself.
Because you knew that all along. You just,
I knew that. I was firm in my place. They had no idea what they were talking about because they'd never met him. They just looked at a piece of paper and said, nope, we can't help you.
Right.
And so the lady actually apologized to me at the end of that day. And she said, yep, you were right. And I said, yeah, I'm his mom. I live with him 24/7. I know what he can and cannot do. This is not somebody that's going to be able to manage his medicine, make sure he eats, go to the grocery store. He still has yet to figure out how to use his check card. We tried. Doesn't get anywhere. But we're trying to make sure he understands what that means, what money means. And it's just not a concept that makes sense. It's just there. It's just money. The food just shows up. What do you mean I have to go get it? But had she not made that phone call, they would have never evaluated him. And we wouldn't have a place. But with the Medicaid waiver, he'll have the supports that he'll need. And if that's a group home, that might be a group home. That might be, his brother says he's living with him, which I can't picture that because they try to kill each other still. Sibling. That's more sibling, not actually trying to hurt each other, just siblings. But Chris thinks he's going to live with him. And if it's living with him, then it's supports. It's government, or not government, but community interaction, which is what he gets with the ARC right now. Like the summer camp. He's going to summer camp. Right now, he is the day program. We love the day program. As a matter of fact, if I do not take him on Tuesday or Thursday, he looks at me like, supposed to be going somewhere. Why are we sitting here? We're supposed to be walking out the door. The ice storm didn't stop him, by the way. He's like,
nobody was out. Nobody was out.
Dude, it's a sheet of ice. I'm not doing it.
Nobody's there. Nobody's there. So Leslie asks, is there an ARC in every state? Leslie, I did look up. So basically, for whatever state you are in, you want to find what services are available for individuals with intellectual or mental disabilities. If you know, that's how they classify them here. But I did look it up while she was talking, and there are ARC of New Jersey, and it's ARC, not K. It's ARC, not K. So there is something in New Jersey, and there's a New Jersey Institute for Disabilities as well. So there definitely seems to be, and it's the same. Yeah, it's the same affiliation because it's the same logo. So I'll send that to you, Leslie. But
Thank
yeah,
you.
you're welcome. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, next question. I hope this has been helpful, you guys. Whether it's for ourselves or for somebody, one of our loved ones, just being able to, sometimes it's just, you don't even know what to ask. You don't know what you don't know. Right.
Yep.
And through this conversation, it just helps us, Kelly, to even know what to look for, to think about all those things. Some things that we take for granted because it's just not something we've had to deal with. But
Yep.
Hopefully through this conversation, people are more sensitive to it, more willing to support and help as well. If you could sum up your journey in one word or phrase, what would it be and why?
Oh, goodness. Oh, I don't know how to put that one. There's a line from a song that runs through my head a lot. There's a song from the 80s, and it started out, "What do you do when it's falling apart?" That has been kind of my journey, but in a happy way.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds weird, but because I look at things as it may not be perfect, but it's okay. It's okay not to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It can fall apart. I'll just put it back together again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The glue in my pocket, that'll take care of it all.
Mm-hmm.
It's just things happen. It's just you have to be able to roll with it and know how to take care of things. You need to know who to call.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't know who to call when there's a problem or when they're confused or when they don't know how to take care of something. Had I not had the group of friends that I had when Nate ended up in the hospital, I don't know what I would have done.
Mm-hmm. So relationships matter.
Exactly. It's those relationships that I built over the years prior to that happening. I think that we're put in the place for a reason. Sometimes you just happen to be in the place. Like the day that I overheard that, conversation with the member from my church. Had I not heard her talking about that day, I wouldn't have been able to get her to the person she needed.
Mm-hmm.
And her daughter was able to get the evaluation she needed. Her mom was able to understand an IEP for once. That had been only her second or third IEP invitation. So she was still a newbie. Mm-hmm. She thought she just had to do whatever the school said. Nope, not how it works. Don't let them bully you. I was put there for a reason at that moment, on that day. And I might not have been the one to help her out with the IEP, but I knew who to call.
Right. You know what came to my mind when you were talking?
What?
The serenity prayer.
Yes.
Is, what they say, let me say it correctly. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Yes. So as you're talking like that came to me, like that truly to me just described this whole conversation of, you were saying, of kind of trying to figure out what you need to know, praying about the things. And, some things we cannot control, but we can definitely work really hard of making a difference to what we can control, right?
Absolutely.
Work. And how can people support families like yours in a meaningful way and respectful way as we close up?
Understanding. If you have a problem with the way somebody's doing something, ask them. Be respectful about it, but simply ask a question. Most of us are open and okay. We don't mind people asking us questions.
Mhm.
It's when you assume that, number one, you don't think you can ask a question, or you think that the solution is just to give funny looks.
Mhm.
Asking a question is so simple. Worst somebody could say to you is, go away. But sometimes just that one little simple question, you may understand, or you may be able to do something to help that person
Mhm.
without even really knowing it. You don't have to know something about autism to figure out a way to help somebody,
Mhm.
or even somebody with Down syndrome, or somebody with cerebral palsy. Holding a door for somebody in a wheelchair. That's a simple thing.
Exactly.
Sometimes that's the one thing that that person can't get. Somebody holding a door.
Simple.
Yep.
It was mentioned because you had mentioned the Medicaid waiver program. So Pam mentioned that every state has a Medicaid waiver program. So there's resources probably out there that people just don't know that are available.
Yes.
But
They
being
work
able to
different in different states.
say it
So
again.
every state is different. They work different in different states. Um, we have one of my husband's coworkers. He lives in, or ex coworker lives in Michigan, and the way Michigan's disabled child program works, because there's a disabled child living at home program, and that program provides additional assistance for disabled children that are living within the home versus being institutionalized. And the way their program works, it's much harder to get onto. The state of Mississippi works a little differently, and it's actually easier to get children that are more higher functioning but may need therapy services that regular insurance doesn't even pay for.
Mm-hmm.
One of the problems I encountered when Nate was little was speech therapy. My insurance company, and this is a quote, I called them to see who's on, who's in network. I'm sorry, we don't provide speech therapy. Speech therapy means we would be making your child better than other children. And I remember thinking, no, I just want my 4-year-old to sound like a 4-year-old. I don't know why that's such a problem. He sounds like he's not even 2. Can we be 4? That's all I want. But they said they
Making
don't.
your child better than other.
Yep.
That sounds weird.
It took 10 years before they would pay for speech therapy. 10 years, which means you're out of the window. You're way out of the window to help a child succeed in the smallest of ways. Had we not had the Medicaid waiver at that time, or the disabled child living at home policy, had we not had that, Nate would not have had speech therapy for 10 years. Because that first year we couldn't pay for it. It was more than a car payment. It was like 500 and something dollars a month for one weekly session, one
Mm.
30-minute session a week, $500 a month.
Mm.
It was just way too expensive, not something we had.
Mm. 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 Wow.
But yes, every state has Medicaid, has a waiver of some sort. It just, each
Just
state may be a little different.
yeah. Be willing. Got to be willing to be inconvenienced to get the information. Got to be willing. Got to be willing.
Absolutely. You got to get out there. You got to ask questions.
And that's Chatita. ChatGPT. What questions do I need to ask in order for me to get all the service? This is, I mean, literally just say describe every single thing you can possibly think of that your child is
Mm-hmm.
experiencing and say, what questions do I need to ask? What, I mean, literally. And you'll be
Or be
amazed what you
crazy,
come back with.
or be crazy like Kelly and just show up. Show up at the office and start
Right.
pestering people till your questions are answered.
Right.
Ask me
Right.
how I know that one, because that's what I did.
I was trying to tell the girls, one of my friends that she was like, well, they're not calling me back. Well, go there. Ask them. Keep calling. Like,
Be a pest. And when I say that on purpose, be a pest.
mm-hmm.
Sometimes it takes being a pest to get those questions answered.
Mm-hmm.
Had I not been a pest when it came to his neurologist, there would have been a lot of questions that didn't get answered.
Mm-hmm.
I was annoying. They were ready to get rid of me. Like, go away, lady. I've had enough. No, you haven't.
Right,
My
right. I don't have my answer. So yeah, you've had enough when I say you've had enough. I say. Any other questions or comments? Any other questions you guys have for Kelly? Any other questions? This was good, Kelly. I'm so glad.
I'm glad you reached out to me.
Yes, I'm glad. I said, Angela, do you think she'll do it? You said, are you familiar with SSD? What's SSD? You may know. I
Social
don't know.
Security disability.
Say it again.
Social Security
Oh,
disability.
yeah, yeah.
Yep, Nate's on disability. I went through that fun process.
Yeah, so yeah, I think that's a part of they make it difficult to weed people out. The people that probably is trying to take advantage of the system. It got to
And
be something.
sometimes it's necessary. With Nate, now I don't understand exactly how it all works sometimes. The friend that I was telling you about whose daughter is only one of three in the US. It took her a year and a half to get Social Security disability. A year and a half. Nate, and I think his might have come quicker because I'd already applied for the Medicaid waiver. His was approved in like 3 months. But that was after they also stood us up for our first appointment. And it took me another 6 months to get an appointment with them to get him evaluated again. But his was approved so quick. So it just depends on who you get a hold of, I think. Mm-hmm. And don't ever call the national number. That's another one. Just show up. Just a lot faster. It works a lot better if you just show up. If you're in DeSoto County, it's in Hernando. It's really easy.
Show up. So Angela says she's so proud of you.
Aww.
Erica said, thank you for sharing your story.
Absolutely.
She's the one with the grandson with the foot fetish as well.
It does crack me up. He's probably listening to me right now. Like, she's talking about me.
Let's see, who else? Let's see if there's any other comments. This was good. This was good. So I hope you guys are encouraged. I mean, as we wrap up, because it's 9:20, good conversation. Time flies when you're having fun and getting good information. So let me, as we just continue to finish this up, I had a couple, we had that here. So connect with us, you guys. Please, please, please. I need to add on here my YouTube channel. Conversations like this, if you gained anything, we want to be able to share with others. Definitely text tribe. You want to stay connected with us. We would love for you to become a part of our tribe as we continue to grow and build connections and support systems for individual. So I'm hoping Kelly is part of our tribe, that she's found some support with us as well.
Absolutely.
And then we are here. We have been empowered. She has truly, truly, truly given us some information that, because we all know someone who's dealing with somebody with having a child with special needs or taking care of a loved one, maybe a sibling. You know, she shares a lot with us to help us just be more aware, be more sensitive, I believe. So we are now empowered women so we can empower. So it's not just us taking this information for ourselves. We share because we care. We share because we care. So definitely share her story. You know, I'll put I will have, because I think I forgot to put Rebecca's up. So I'll do them both by tomorrow. And just have them take a listen to it. Encourage them to listen if they have any children, especially if they have younger ones, because, you know, this has been years for Kelly. She's in 18 years into the game, but there may be somebody who has a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old. The thing I loved to hear, I'm thinking about somebody I know that has a younger one. Now that I kind of, you know, some parts of the journey was real tough. It seems like it's not as bad as so it doesn't stay that way all the time, right? So being able to hear her story and be able to then maybe encourage somebody that we know, that's why we are here. So it's not just for us, you guys, it's for who we also can empower, that's in our circle, that goes to church with us, that's one of our friends, like all of that stuff. You've taken this time, not just for yourself. So thank you again, Kelly, for saying yes
You're welcome.
at the last minute, and being able to. But I just believe this was the conversation that was supposed to be had. God just took me a little detour to get there. So thank you again, you guys. Thanks for getting on. I appreciate you all. If you are in our tribe, remember Thursday is our chapter 4 for our book. If you are going on the trip tomorrow and Friday, you can pick up your shirts. Saturday, it is on. Game time is on. And then we're going to have a May, I'll get you the dates. We'll have a May virtual game night for our tribe members as well. So we have lots of things coming up in these next couple of weeks. So next time, next week, same bat channel, same bat place. How'd it go? Well, we will be here. So thank you guys. And Maxine, it was good to see you, girl. We ain't seen you in a while. Good to see you. So, but you guys, yes, have a great night. Appreciate you.